Imagine it's 1997. Steve Jobs has just returned to Apple. He gathers his top 100 leaders in a room. They argue for hours. They agree on a new strategy, and everyone leaves. If Steve stops there, Apple dies. Why? Because a great conversation is just the prescription. It isn't the treatment. Today, we're using the L.O.O.P protocol to ensure that when you speak, behavior actually changes and stays changed. This is the scientific method for turning a talk into a permanent transformation. We have been on a 13-episode journey to master the art of difficult workplace conversations. If you want to ensure your leadership legacy lasts longer than 30-minute meeting, hit that subscribe button. And let's finish what we started. The moment a difficult conversation ends, a biological clock starts ticking, and it is called the forgetting curve. Step 1 of the L.O.O.P protocol is log the commitment. Most leaders finish a tough meeting with a handshake. That's great. I'm glad we're on the same page. But that is a lie. You are not on the same page. One of you is relieved and the other is traumatized. Because when the brain is in high stress state, it does not encode memory efficiently. Consequently, if you don't write it down immediately, 50% of your agreement evaporates by lunchtime. To prevent this, you must send what I call the reciprocity email within 60 minutes of the meeting. This is not a transcript. Rather, it is a contract of understanding. It must contain 3 things: what was discussed, what action they committed to, and what support you committed to. And this is backed by science. Hermann Ebbinghaus, a German psychologist, discovered that forgetting curve in 1885. He found that humans lose roughly 50% of the new information within an hour and 70% within 24 hours, unless it is reinforced. Thus, the log stops the curve. It creates an external memory drive for the relationship. Now let's look at the real-life scenario. An amateur relying only on a verbal agreement might say, "Okay, great talk, see you on Monday." Then 2 weeks later, the employee says, "Oh, I thought you meant start the project next month." Now you are arguing about memory, not performance. Conversely, a pro uses the L.O.O.P email. The email subject reads, "Recap of our conversation and next step." The body of the email says, "Hi, thanks for the open chat. To confirm, you agreed to send the daily update by 5 p.m. I agreed to remove the admin task from your plate to make time for it. And then let's review this on Friday." Now there is nowhere to hide. Before we move on, I want to know, do you send recap emails after tough feedback, or do you trust people to remember? Be honest. Type email or trust in the comments below. Moving on, you log the commitment. Now you wait. However, this is the danger zone. Most manager turns into a hawk, watching for a mistake so they can swoop in and say, "Aha, I knew you couldn't do it." Do not be a hawk. Instead, be a scientist. Step 2 is observe the friction. When an employee fails to change after a feedback session, your first instinct is to blame their motivation. You think they don't care or they're lazy. But psychology tells us it is rarely a motivation problem. More often than not, it is an ability problem. Something is getting in their way and they are too scared to tell you. Therefore, instead of scolding them when they slip up, ask a diagnostic question. Don't ask an accusatory question like, "Why didn't you do it?" Instead, ask diagnostically, what got in the way? Maybe they didn't send a report because the software crashed. Maybe they were late because another manager pulled them into a meeting. Ultimately, you are looking for the friction. Now, this concept is based on the Fogg behavior model by Dr. Fogg at Stanford University, which states that behavior equals motivation plus ability plus prompt. If the behavior isn't happening, Dr. Fogg suggests checking ability, asking if it's too hard before you check the motivation. If you attack their motivation when the problem is actually a broken promise, or a broken process, you destroy trust. Consider this comparison. The hawk manager yells, "We talked about this. Why is the report late again? Do you not care about this job?" Now this causes the employee to shut down. On the other hand, the scientist manager says, "I noticed the report was late again. We agreed on 5 p.m. What got in the way of that deadline? Is there a roadblock I need to remove?" Now the employee might respond, "Actually, yes. Accounting doesn't send me the numbers until 4:55 p.m. and I can't type that fast." Now you have found the real problem. It wasn't the employee, it was the accounting department. Think of a struggling employee right now. Is their issue truly laziness, or is there a roadblock stopping them? Share your theory in the comments below. Now let's pause for a moment. We have spent 13 episodes talking about how you can handle difficult conversations, but you are just one person. If you are the only one in your company using these protocols, if you are using L.O.O.P and radical candor, while your peers are still using passive aggression and silence, you are fighting a losing battle. You need a common language. We work with organizations to install these frameworks like the BINGE, GPS, CAR, and L.O.O.P across the entire leadership layer. When everyone knows the rules of engagement, conflict stops being a crisis and starts being a catalyst for growth. If you want to certify your team in the art of difficult conversations, hit the link below and let's build a culture of accountability, not anxiety. Now that you have logged it and observed the friction, you must cement the change. Step 3 is optimize and praise. This is the step 90% of managers skip. If your employee actually does change, if they show up on time or deliver the report, what do? Most of managers do absolutely nothing. They think, "Why should I thank them? That's their job." However, silence is not neutral. Silence is negative feedback. If an employee puts in their effort to change that habit and you don't acknowledge it, their brain says the effort wasn't worth it and they stop. To make a behavior stick, you must catch them doing it right. Professor Emma Bailey at Harvard Business School wrote about this in the Progress Principle. She analyzed 12,000 diary entries from knowledge workers and found that the number one driver of motivation was not money. It was not pizza parties. It was the sense of making progress in meaningful work. Consequently, when you acknowledge small wins, you trigger a dopamine loop that reinforces the neural pathway. You don't need a parade. You just need a micro affirmation. For example, "Hey, I saw the report came in at 4:50 p.m. I really appreciate you adjusting your workflow to make that happen. It helped me prep for my meeting. Keep it up." Now that took 10 seconds, but it just bought you 6 months of good behavior. In reality, the silent manager watches an employee fix an issue, says nothing, and watches the employee slowly drift back to old habits. Conversely, the L.O.O.P manager says, "I noticed you handled the client objection perfectly today using the REV protocol. Last month, that would have been an argument. Your growth is visible. Well done." Now, by doing this, you are optimizing the behavior by praising the progress. When was the last time a boss thanked you for simply doing your job well? How did it make you feel? Tell me in the comments below. In conclusion, the L.O.O.P protocol is the final piece of the puzzle. Log the agreement, observe the friction, and optimize and praise the progress. We have come a long way together. We'll learn how to prepare with the GPS protocol. We'll learn how to listen with the REV protocol. We'll learn how to repair broken contracts and navigate burnout. You now have a complete toolkit to handle any conversation with anyone about anything. But tools are useless if the foundation is weak. You can have the perfect follow-up strategy, but if you do not know the core 5-step anatomy of a difficult conversation, none of this works. If you joined us late in the series, or if you've forgotten the basics, you need to go back to the beginning. Everything we built rests on the balik framework from episode 1. Without the balik, the rest is just a noise. If you're ready to be a master communicator, your next step isn't forward, it's backward. Go watch episode 1 and build the foundation. And thank you for trusting me with your voice. Now go have that conversation. I will also see you in season 2 of How to Master Difficult Workplace Conversation.